backhand of Ankalaev.
Ankalaev made his UFC debut in March 2018 at UFC Fight Night.
Was he a little dazed by that?
Werdum versus Volkov, where he competed against Paul Craig. Ankalaev maintained dominance throughout the fight for the majority of 2 rounds,
Dazed by that.
triumphing with precise strikes, takedowns, and superior control. He's already being called the Dagestani Knockout Master.
Leaning heavy on his lead leg.
How will he hold up against new UFC fighters? And how did his other fights go? Let's find out. In an effort to recover from the loss of his UFC debut, Ankalaev was scheduled to compete against Marcin Pranacio on September 15, 2018 at UFC Fight Night. Ankalaev successfully countered with a right hook to bring Prachnio to the ground after a sluggish opening. Prachnio was then punched and kicked in the head after rising to his feet, putting him out completely. Thanks to the knockout, Ankalaev won his first UFC match and the Performance of the Night trophy. Ankalaev is currently riding a 9-fight winning streak and has never lost since his debut. On UFC 282, Ankalaev and Jan Blachowicz will square off for the vacant UFC Light Heavyweight Championship. His first UFC Championship match will take place in this one. Here's the latest news update from Magomed Ankalaev. Ankalaev and Jan Blachowicz were scheduled to fight at UFC 282 on December 10, 2022. The matchup was altered to a title battle for the vacant UFC Light Heavyweight Championship after Yi Prohaska gave up his title due to a serious shoulder injury. Early life and career. Ankalaev trained in Greco-Roman wrestling during his first year of studies at the Dagestan State University, where he earned his degree in the sports faculty. At the same time, he also participated in combat sambo competitions, winning the honorary title of Master of Sports in the sport. Ankalaev was intrigued by the idea of transitioning to MMA because the two sports share similarities with combat sambo. Later, Ankalaev won the amateur MMA World and Russian Championships. Ankalaev was also chosen by the Russian MMA Federation as the country's 2015 mixed martial artist. Magomed Ankalaev's most popular fights. Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Cutelaba 1. On February 29, 2020, Ankalaev faced Ion Cutelaba at UFC Fight Night 169. He won by way of a TKO in the opening frame. The triumph was not without controversy, though. Cutelaba objected to the referee's decision to call it a draw when he was still standing.
Cutelaba disagrees!
And referee Kevin McDonald believed he was out on his feet. The stoppage was deemed premature by the event commentators, MMA experts, and UFC competitors. Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion Cutelaba 2. At UFC 252, which was scheduled for August 15, 2020, a rematch with Cutelaba was anticipated. Cutelaba withdrew from the fight on August 11 after testing positive for COVID-19. It was then rescheduled for UFC Fight Night 175 instead. Cutelaba's COVID-19 test resulted in a second positive result, forcing the fight to be postponed once more. They ultimately clashed at UFC 254. Once more, Ankalaev prevailed by the way of first-round knockout. For his victory, he received the Performance of the Night award.
By this young man. He is scary, John.
Magomed Ankalaev versus Paul Craig fight.
The legs, and that's straight in.
When he handed rising light heavyweight contender Magomed Ankalaev the only defeat of his professional career to date back in March 2018, Paul Craig pulled off a stunning upset. Ankalaev, a highly awaited prospect from Makhachkala, Russia, was making his UFC debut at the time. In his octagon debut, Ankalaev appeared to be cruising to a convincing victory, but his Scottish opponent had other plans. Craig forced the Russian to submit to a brutal triangle choke submission with just 1 second remaining in the third and final round of the bout, recording the most recent finish in UFC history. Craig acknowledges that, save from the last few seconds of the battle, he was completely outmatched in the contest, where he quite literally snatched victory from the jaws of defeat. After going 1-2 in the promotion, the 34-year-old recalls that, at the time, defeating Ankalaev was essential for him to save his job at the UFC. Bearju spoke with MMA On Point and stated, "I can still picture myself leaving the building and saying, 'This is it, my UFC career is finished.' And I literally took a beating for 3 rounds. I recall that he held my chin and broke my ribs. I heard the crack and could hear Dan Hardy and John Gooden. It was pretty much over when I fired up that triangle, which led to the most recent submission in UFC history. I stood up and said, I just won. Jan Blachowicz versus Magomed Ankalaev. Magomed Ankalaev feels that he should have emerged from UFC 282 as the new light heavyweight champion, but instead, he'll go home bitter and disoriented without a championship belt around his waist. The judges disagreed, despite the Russian appear to have done enough to defeat former champion Jan Blachowicz in a 5-round hard-fought match. Judge Mike Bell scored the contest 48-47 for Blachowicz. Judge Derek Cleary scored 48-46 for Ankalaev, and Judge Saul D'Amato ultimately scored 47-47, resulting in a split draw for the contest. I won that fight. I don't know what to say, Ankalaev stated. Why did I not obtain my belt? I am at a loss for words. Although I couldn't choose the judges for the fight, I prevailed. My belt is where? I'm not sure if I'll fight for this group once more because I'm not sure what recently happened. What you want me to say? I'm not sure. Sincerely, I'm at a loss for words. Perhaps we'll return and seize what is rightfully ours. Blachowicz, for his part, appeared defeated despite the verdict and even asserted that Ankalaev ought to win the title regardless of the judge's verdict. Blachowicz remarked, I have to watch the fight, but I'm not going to win. I don't think I'm the winner. In my opinion, no one can judge me. With Blachowicz setting the tone early with a barrage of leg kicks and Ankalaev using his grappling to turn the tables late, the title bout largely unfolded in 2 halves. At the beginning of the 25-minute fight, Ankalaev was throwing off combinations quickly and landing a smooth front kick that was frequently landing in his opponent's stomach.
advantage hai ya disadvantage hai?
Ankalaev fired again, and Blachowicz had a knockout in mind, which caused some swelling and bruising above Ankalaev's right eye. Ankalaev used a cautious approach, searching for responses. However, Blachowicz was still able to create a gap for straight punches and a well-timed uppercut. In addition, Blachowicz was kicking Ankalaev viciously in the lead leg, which started to seriously injure him as a result of the repeated blows. The hard kicks caused Ankalaev to stumble at one point, forcing him to literally change positions in an effort to avoid taking more harm. Ankalaev was forced to become more aggressive due to the damaged leg, and the tactic began to pay off. However, he still had to be cautious of the power Blachowicz would use to come back at him. Blachowicz was pounding away at either the lead leg that was open in orthodox or the southpaw stance. Despite Ankalaev's best efforts, he still couldn't stop the kicks. As a result, Ankalaev really applied forward pressure to Blachowicz, narrowing the gap and preparing for a takedown attempt or the clinch. Ankalaev planted Blachowicz on the ground as the bout entered the championship rounds in an effort to change the trend in his favor. Blachowicz appeared to be trapped with a little possibility of escape, as Ankalaev sought to take the back but generally maintained possession. As the seconds continued to count down to the crowning of a new light heavyweight champion, a slip during a scramble put Blachowicz back on the ground once more.
You have to get up, bro.
With Ankalaev keeping control on top. Ankalaev appeared to have Blachowicz pinned as he threw blows in an effort to score a late knockout.
Elbows lagate hue 5 round ho chuke hain samapt.
Still, the former champion persisted until the fight's conclusion in order to get on the scorecards. All indications suggested that Ankalaev would win, but the judges were of the opposite opinion. As a result, the UFC Light Heavyweight Championship is currently vacant, and it's unclear what may happen next. Ankalaev and Blachowicz might be headed for an instant rematch, which could put Glover Teixeira in a major bind as he was supposed to meet the winner in the UFC 282 main event. What do you think of the video? Let us know in the comment section below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you go. Thanks for watching.
He closes this chapter of his career emphatically.